With the live stage presentation of Beauty and the Beast, there's much more than meets the eye. For every actor on stage, there are quite a few. At least 3 people are behind the scenes making each performance happen. From costumers to choreographers, from makeup to musicians, everyone is trying their best to make Beauty and the Beast the musical a very special Broadway experience. I'm Robbie Benson, and I'd like you to be my guest for an exclusive behind-the-scenery tour of a unique theatrical experience. It's an intimate backstage pass as Disney's Beauty and the Beast goes to Broadway. The challenge of translating the magic of film to stage started with writer Linda Wolverton, who had written the original screenplay for the animated feature. Many elements that worked so well in the film could not be accomplished on the stage, but it was essential to keep the main theme intact. Remember, Beauty and the Beast is a tale as old as time.
It's one of those cases of a classic mythological tale, you know, the beautiful girl and the beast, that have been around probably since, you know, Tales Around the Campfire. I personally believe the moral to this particular telling is that love can transform you. It's really about the redemptive power of love, because it literally transforms him back into a human.
In 1991, Walt Disney Pictures released the animated feature Beauty and the Beast, and audiences fell in love. The songwriting team of Alan Menken and Howard Ashman created an Academy Award-winning score for the film, which everyone, the press and the public, compared to a Broadway show. Alan Menken decided to approach Walt Disney Company Chairman and CEO Michael Eisner and Walt Disney Studios Chairman Jeffrey Katzenberg to determine if they had any interest in developing any projects for Broadway.
I had been after Jeffrey and Michael to listen to various theatrical projects that I was developing and see, do you have any interest in this? And they said, no, we have no interest in Broadway. We have no interest, no. And then one day they sort of softened and said, you know, we do have an interest in Broadway and we have an idea. It's going to be Beauty and the Beast on Broadway.
The theater experience is extremely important. What the theater experience gives is a whole generation of families and people growing up and high school kids and children an opportunity to see how drama really began. It's a part of our culture and the culture of Western society that is important. The time has come for us to take this new adventure.
This show had to be more than translated, it had to be recreated. You can do so many things in animation that are just simply not possible in live action or on the stage. And so things had to be really reconceived. What we did is assemble together a rather extraordinary team, and they came up with just spectacularly creative solutions.
Creative solutions were necessary to transform Beauty and the Beast for the stage. For example, how do you find the right cast, and how do you expand the story to the length required of a Broadway musical?
We wanted to tell the story in a very cinematic way, so that unlike the old musicals where there's blackouts at the end of every scene, we knew we wanted to tell it like a movie where everything flowed together.
People always ask me, how are you going to make this short little movie into Broadway length? I never worried about it. I could go into a line and I could fill it out. I could make it more realistic. I could have Belle talking to her father just more realistically.
Once it was clear that the story could be effectively expanded so that it could be brought to the stage, they had to find the right cast to portray the unforgettable characters that were first introduced in the film.
I bet we saw, I don't want to exaggerate, 300 people, which is a lot of people. And I got all my first choices in the show, which is unbelievable.
Top of the number, please. Top of the number and all the way through. In the case of Belle, there was the original character to contend with. Susan Egan has a very different kind of voice. I just love this girl. I think she's wonderful, wonderful actress, and has a wonderful quality, and I'm real excited by that. Terry Mann is someone whose work I've always loved, from Cats to Les Mis, and there's a quality about him that is kind of rough and, don't take this the wrong way, Terry, animal.
She's supposed to love me.
Tom Bosley as Maurice was just, I think, wonderful casting, and we're very fortunate to have him. Beth Fowler as Mrs. Potts really has brought me to tears every time she sung that song.
Beauty and the Beast.
Burke Moses as Gaston. is great. I mean, he's utterly, utterly convincing as this total lunkhead, and he's actually a terrific actor.
No one says no to Gaston.
Gary Beach just knocked us out in auditions. He just brings a wonderful joie de vivre as Heath Lambert as Cogsworth. This cast is really terrific.
The cast was perfect, except for the fact that they were human, and the story called for characters like cantankerous clocks, high-kicking candelabra, and a lovable, but very scary, very hairy beast.
Well, it was kind of a heck of a challenge because the film was so well received and was so fabulous. And to take that on and say, now we're going to do it in another medium was a little bit frightening.
Joining the team was Tony Award-winning Broadway costume designer HOULD-WARD. Anne's challenge was to create costumes that were not only visually stunning and complementary to the story, but costumes that allowed fluidity of movement for some very limber actors.
The body, the way it moves, even the way an actor thinks is part of what you, as part of the visual support team for them, tries to relate to and tries to interpret all the way through the process.
Turning actor Terrence Mann into the Beast was the job of hair designer David H. Lawrence and prosthetics expert John DODS.
We couldn't get an actual Beast, but we got as close as possible of Terrence Mann. Very little makeup will be needed.
John DODS has done makeup for the movies as well as the theater, including Ghostbusters 3 and Poltergeist 3.
So far, it's been taking about 2 hours, but that will get shorter. It'll probably get down to as short as a half an hour when we have time to work it out and practice doing it. Terry's holding up very well so far, so hopefully that will continue to be true, but he's being asked to put up with more in terms of discomfort than I know of any other actor in theater having to put up with.
Everyone knows a beast has to have sharp teeth.
No dentures.
But how does a stage performer sing with a mouthful of fangs?
The teeth are on the outside of the mouth, and this will work in the theater where you're not so close that you can tell the difference.
Right.
The beast is a furry beast, so David Lawrence had to blanket John DODS' prosthetics with hair.
We're applying the hair that makes the beast come to life in a way. What you're saying right now is trying to create the reality of what a human being what would happen to them if they turned into an animal.
A bodysuit was created to give the beast a fearsome physique.
Schwarzenegger, eat your heart out.
Building a beast was a cinch compared to the ambitions the creative team had for the enchanted objects. The effects technicians decided to use a combination of electromechanical devices and what they call pyro, short for pyrotechnics, fire and smoke effects. For example, Lumiere had to juggle real flames, Cogsworth had to have a clock in the middle of his chest, and Mrs. Potts had to be able to pour a cup of steaming tea from her arm. All of this magic had to be conjured up for every performance, night after night, in front of a live audience.
The main problem is that we're dealing with moving, living, breathing actors here, and we're trying to attach hardcore electronics, mechanics, servos to actors that don't want to be powered up.
Can I help it if I'm tense?
This is Lumiere in his advanced stage. He has to be made out of special fireproof or fire retardant materials, as a real flame is going to be coming out of his head and his hands.
It's a nightmare just trying to keep up with what effects go to what costume, what act, what stage the character is at, which pyro system. It's wild.
The audience gets their first taste of the special effects in the opening moments of the show. An old beggar turns into an enchantress who flies through the air, hurls a fireball at a handsome prince who is transformed into the beast, all in front of an astounded audience. To achieve this effect, Sarah Soley Shannon not only had to hang by wires 20 feet above the stage, but had to learn how to ignite and throw a flash powder fireball.
A ton of illusions. There's sets that are flying in all directions. There's scrims that you have to either see through and then not see through, and just, I can't imagine.